4 years ago I crewed on other people's boats across the Pacific Ocean and learned the basics of sailing. After I had to stop building my cabin in Spain last year, I decided to return back to the ocean.
Since recently we have our own small boat in Guatemala, it turned out to be a bit more of a lemon than expected, and we are now transforming the boat into lemonade.
Or limonada.
And step by step we are getting closer to sail the Caribbean and eventually the rest of the world together.
Keith is here and we're going to pull this 3-strand cable through the mast, and it's going to be a really easy job, right Keith?
That's a complete lie. This is always a nightmare. Always a nightmare. So what I've done here is that I tied you a half hitch. We got about 10 meters of line that's free over here, and then 10 meters, we'll have infinite on this side. The idea is we're going to tape this off, and you're going to pull from the top. You're going to pull this green wire through. You can either do it from the top down or the bottom up. I think just given the situation, it might be a little easier to pull this thing up. And the idea is now you can slide that up by pulling, and then it'll pull this rope, and it's called this a mouse line. And we'll do 2 so you can keep one up there forever afterwards. That way, when and if you ever need to run a new line, you already have a mouse line up there.
But it's pretty hard to pull. Okay, so to pull that 3-strand wire through the mast was mission impossible. So we pulled out the wires and then did the wires separately. Number 1 was fine, number 2 was fine, number 3 was mission impossible. Mission impossible. But I want a tricolor light, which is like the tricolor and anchor light 2 in 1. But that one needs 3 wires. Technically, the way my mast was wired, you can do it 2 wires, because look, they did the minus is connected to the boom, so now the boom is grounded, and that's very useful. You need 1 wire less. Maybe when you get a lightning strike, all your electronics are fried, but useful to use less wires. So not a good idea. The minus needs to have a separate wire, and the mast does not need to be grounded. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use those 2 wires now for the anchor light, and at least I have an anchor light. In the future I'm going to use those 2 wires for the tricolor light, just a tricolor light for navigation, and we're going to make an anchor light on the front of the bow. But for now it's important for me to have a working anchor light so I can actually so people can actually see me at night. We have a working anchor light.
Finally!
Was about time. Good evening. Look at that bright shining anchor light. Woohoo!
Good morning. It's still really early and I just came out of bed. Maybe you can see I have a little bit tired eyes, but we don't have as much to do in the mornings as the last few days, so I kind of want to start with creating a morning routine for myself, setting intentions, doing a meditation, some stretching, something like that. I have some incense and crystals, so I'm going to burn that, put on relaxing meditation and wake up fresh.
Okay, now I need to get these pads loose. These bolts are corroded, so I need to drill them out. Well, this was a bit of a pain taking it out. Let's see with vice grips if I can get this out of the mast now. I hope so. So I got them off, but the pad that was here broke in 1,000 pieces. So this is in the shape of the mast, so I'm not exactly sure how I'm gonna find this or have it remade here, as I don't have an example. I'm back at Carlos the Welder. If you've never seen this before, Carlos the Welder is a guy who has taken apart a bunch of boats that were left here to die, and these are all boat parts. This plastic Earthelon piece over here, I'm gonna cut 2 pieces of it, and that's where I'm gonna try to make my winch pads from. I want to go back to where the boat is on the heart, but the dinghy will not start. Tried a bunch of times, tried emptying the carburetor, this time it did not help. It's after 5, the shops are closed, but I still found a metal wire and a key number 10, so I'm gonna try to fix it with that. It's not really the ideal work conditions when your dinghy is going from left to right. I think that when I'll just open the bottom and put a metal rod in the sprayer, I think it'll probably be clogged there. The sprayer is definitely clogged. The thing I'm holding in my hands, you're supposed to see a tiny bit of light through it. You're not. I don't know why this keeps on happening, because I did replace the fuel filter, so it should have clean fuel. I'm just putting this metal rod in from the bottom just to be sure that the rest of the part is clean too. I clean it up, and now you can see, you see the little light coming through, right? Yeah, so now it should work. This is the workshop of the marina, and now I'm going to try to make a curve in these pads so that they can fit on my mast with the angle grinder. I've been sanding for like, I don't know, an hour, 1.5 hours. This stuff is so hard. It's so difficult to get a shape in this. And every day I have to walk back to the boat because, you know, it's really difficult to get like a perfect shape with this. I have to try it out. But I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So on the flat side, I marked off where the bolts are supposed to come. I'm going to drill holes now. I've dry fitted them and the bolts fit. Obviously it's not perfect because I'm not a machine. There are some edges along some sides, so I'm going to fill it up with a bit of sealant and then put them back. Alright, that should be good enough for the next 20 years or so. One more project finished. I know that some of you guys are watching my channel because you want to buy your own boat, and I learned that one of the things to look out for when you want to buy your own boat and you want to know if somebody has modernized an old boat is that if it has self-tailing winches. These are not self-tailing winches. Maybe some of the more experienced boat owners watching my channel can elaborate in the comments on what signs to look out for to see if somebody has done a lot of effort and in the boat and actually modernized the boat. I want to say one more thing. The mistake I made is that the way I saw it was people who did coastal cruising, they generally don't have solar panels and a wind vane, and people who do longer distances, they generally do. So I was specifically looking for boats that have that, and I found one. The only thing was that was like literally the only thing modernized on this boat, and the rest not. But the boats I've been crewing on, those boats, they were all already made ready to cross an ocean. So I kind of assumed that the things they had, most other boats that would have a wind vane and a solar would also be in a similar condition, and that was a false assumption, I noticed. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you also know that that was a false assumption. So anyway, when you want to buy your own boat yourself, I hope this info helps. My help has arrived. Kate, what are we going to do today?
Well, we are going to take this.
We're going to drill a hole in the boat.
We're going to put this thing through the boat. We're going to put a through hole in, and then we're going to put a ball valve on it, and it's going to become your sink drain. It's going to go probably ballpark it about right there, and that's going to be your new galley sink drain. Someone at some point, we think, took the sink drain and put it and replaced it with the sonar in the through hole. That's the old sonar, so I'm going to replace that. Drill a new hole, use some 5200, lock that down with a pipe wrench, and then you will put this giant ball valve on it, which will keep it, have the ability to then open and close it.
Normally people are against putting another hole in the boat. I am too. However, I'm missing one hole in the boat, because in the cockpit there are two drains and they are wired. The hoses go together only to one hole in the boat, and they're supposed to go separate. But here one of the holes is used for something else, so I don't really have a choice. Let's make a hole. Keith, what are you doing? Are you drilling a hole in my boat?
For sure, drilling a hole in your boat. I'm gonna
not under the.
I'm gonna do what you should have done 3 months ago. Just drill a hole in it and send it out the ocean. No, no, we're gonna drill a hole.
Many people on YouTube agree with you, but now, right now, we're 80% of the boat's 80% ready.
You've made great progress. All right, so we're gonna drill a small pilot hole from this direction. The reason being, so you can know where to drill the big hole from the other direction. But you got to use a small bit to do this, because the hole saw we're going to use has to have bite in the center in order to make it. Okay, there you go. Got a little bit of daylight.
It's so easy to drill a hole in the boat, like seriously.
It's crazy. It makes you think about, like, your people forget, but this is how much your life is separated from sinking, right? Like at all times, you got about ½ an inch at best.
He drilled a hole in the boat and it took him 2 seconds.
Not even. That was.
Don't stamp your feet too hard on the floor. You might stamp a hole in it.
Pretty much that's your thickness of your hole, right?
Yeah.
There you go. That's a solid ½ inch of fiberglass, or a ¼ inch, ½ an inch probably. It looks pretty healthy, honestly. You don't look like you really got much of a issue. It looks like solid fiberglass. I don't see any core below the water line, which is normally what you would want from a boat of this era. Is a pretty good sign that your hull's probably still structurally in pretty good shape in terms of the fiberglass sticking together, at least in that specific spot.
When he says there's no core, some boats were built with a wooden core in it, like I have in my deck of the boat, but some boats are also built with a wooden core in the hull. I don't have that, you know, and when you have a wooden core in the hull and it gets wet, like I did the fiberglass repair, it's a big problem. So I knew this boat didn't have that, and that's a good thing. We just sanded around it, put some acetone on, and now we can begin. We put 5200 on both sides. Now I need to replace my sonar. So we got the old transducer out. Now we need to make a little bit of a bigger hole, which is difficult now because there's nothing to grab for the circular saw. So we're using this old piece and yeah, screw to a piece of wood, and now it should work. depth sounder is in. My rudder is held at 3 different spots. Over here in the middle, and then here at the bottom of the rudder shoe. The bolt here is corroded, and when it corrodes more and the rudder shoe falls off, then I lose control of the steering. So the least thing we're gonna do is replace this bolt. And there's a little bit of play here, also a little bit of play, meaning if I move the rudder, it moves too much inside. I don't think it's a big risk right now, so I'm probably gonna leave it for now and replace it another time. I got it out. That was easier as expected. Now this end here is supposed to be a bolt. As you can see, there's not much left, so better to replace it. Second thing I'm gonna need to replace is this. This is a sacrificial end node, and apparently you should replace it every time you do a haul out. I put a new zinc on the back of the propeller. This is day 8. Technically we'll be ready to go back into the water with the boat. However, the sealant has a drying time. I also still need to paint the strip white over there. And here you pay either $2.50 per month or $20 per day. So $20 per day means once you go over that 8th, 9th or 10th day, you might as well stay the whole month. And we will go over that with a drying time. Depth sounder works. Okay, let's continue then. I'm gonna stay here the whole month anyway, so let's continue to fix more things.
I am on my way to yoga. It's in the marina next 2 hours, so I can just walk. That's really nice. Haven't done it in I think 3 years. Really stiff, especially in the mornings. So I think I'm gonna laugh my ass off about myself, but yeah, nice to work out. And also there are like a lot of nice people there, so I like that.
One of the previous videos, that drain goes down straight from the cockpit. Here it went in a curve and I connected it with a T-split, so now it actually works really well, but according to a bunch of you, it's better to both have them each going to a separate drain, so that's what I'm going to do now. One is being used as raw water intake, not for the engine but for the dishes, and that's why I needed to make one extra through hole. So now let's fix this. When trying to twist this nice and clean piece off the through hole twisted too much, and now at the bottom it twists in circles, and so that means I've broken the 5200 sealant seal. So now I'm waiting for Keith to call me back to tell me if I have to take off the whole seacock and reseal it from the bottom, or if I can just put sealant around it from the sides. Always something that goes wrong. How they wired it, or actually how they hosed it, I better say. So they used that drain for the raw water intake. Goes all the way here, all the way under the settee to the raw water pump, and then here is another seacock which has been used for the drain of the sink, which is also very illogical because it goes up and down and up and down. That's why it gets clogged when you put in too much. And here I'm gonna now make the raw water intake, which is much more logical as the pumps are here, and then the drain is going to be straight under the sink, and that one is just going to be used as a cockpit drain again. So now we have 1, 2 holes more in the boat, which I was not planning to have. Here are the two through-hole valves. It's number 1 and it's number 2. This one looks fine from the inside, but on the other one, here, do you see all that stuff? What's like over there? See all that stuff in the beginning? That is because this is, by the way, a very expensive piece. This together is probably like $150, and this piece is probably like, I don't know, maybe 10 bucks. Maybe 10 in metal and 15 in copper. I'm not entirely sure, but it's the cheapest part. They went for a little bit cheaper, used metal, and now this metal and copper just does not go together. So I hope I can still clean it, because it might have or almost has effed up this expensive part. That is a really stupid choice. Welcome back to the mess on the boat again. So I just sanded from the inside the two holes, one over there and one over there, and I'm gonna acetone it and then we're gonna put them back. Okay, it is late in the evening. I'm done. That one is in, and here it's a little hard. There's a lot of cables in front of it, but you can see it's right in the middle. New hose on it. Yeah, I don't like boats anymore. And now I'm gonna put this all back in the hatches, so I don't have to look at this tomorrow. Alright, let's begin. Taking those seacocks out have been one of the worst jobs I've done until now, just because of the time constraint you have on putting them back, but also because these were so inconveniently located. Either had to hang all the way over the engine, which hurts, or had to crawl in the hatch to try to reach it from the side. Damn, it is hot here. Whew. The view from the heart. They don't call it for nothing, living on the heart. It is pretty hard here. So one thing I do have to say, in the future when I do a big fiberglass project, I will use safety clothing. Because besides that it itches, like look at my arms, it's yeah, it's not ideal, but it'll go away. You guys recommended to me to put the carbon monoxide detector a whole lot lower, so let's do that. Instead of there, it is now there. I connected it with some heat shrink over here with a connector and heat shrink over it. Now it's a little less as 1 foot above the floor. That's the good thing about YouTube. We might have died without you guys. The connection to my gas bottle looks pretty horrible, but that's not even my biggest worry. Look at this hose. This is not a gas hose. This is like a water hose or something. That's not very safe. Look at the gas hose they installed. That's not a gas hose. I just opened up the 3-way connection that goes to the barbecue, into the gas tank, and to inside the boat. Here, this was broken. That's not very good. Let me show you the difference. This hose that they used, if you look inside, this is just a water hose. There's nothing, there's no special stuff inside. Whereas here with the LPG hose, there's special stuff inside the hose. So that was kind of dangerous how they did that. Since I'm busy with all these hoses anyway, I also installed the foot pump. I need to clean up and give my girlfriend some attention because I'm kind of a workaholic and I need to stop.
You're ruining our relationship.
You're ruining our relationship? That's not true. Alright, I'm gonna clean up. It's a bit of a mess here. Alright, let's clean up. I just want to show you guys how it's connected now. So this is the through hole where the water comes in. The through hole is a lot bigger than the hose that I need to put on it, so there's a connection on top of it. There's always supposed to be 2 hose clamps on the first fitting. Then I had to add a corner here just because this hose is not flexible enough to make this bend. There is a valve here which is unnecessary, but it was there so I left it. This is a screen, it's a filter, a raw water filter. You can open it up and clean it. That's so that barnacles and everything don't get into the electric water pump. And in between the screen and the electric water pump I put a T-split, and that hose leads to the foot pump.
I've waited a couple of days to let the boat fully dry, and now I can tape it again to mark the lines where I can paint the white stripes. So yeah, let's do it. It's my lucky day because overall it's really cloudy and I love that here. This looks a lot like rain is coming, so now I'm not really happy anymore. So it actually took a really long time to put the tape right on it because you want to make a really nice stripe, and then it started to rain. So I'm fighting against the clock to finish the primer in daylight, but I think I will manage to work that out because it's not a really big part. So let's just do that. I am done, just in time. Luckily I have really good eyes because it's actually a little bit too dark to see where you paint, but I could see it still pretty well. Yeah, so now I can drive for the night, and then I can paint the white stripes finally tomorrow. I think it will look really nice with the black and the blue. I'm going inside because I'm getting killed by mosquitoes and other insects that really like my blood. So yeah, let's clean up and end the day.